It is I, your boy Salim from Notorious Reactions, back with another banger. All right, today is going to be about Eleanor Williams jailed for 8.5 years for false grape allegations, and it's a very sensitive topic, but something that's been coming. We've seen it; it was boiling for multiple years. We've had women giving false grape allegations, destroying man's ability to make money, the reputation, on the world, and we have an example of what should be the norm for false grape accusations on either side. But there's something to be said about that. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's unpack and see what happened.
It is an extraordinary story, a story which left a town shaken to its core, not knowing what or who to believe. And it began with this Facebook post.
I think this is the hardest post I'm ever going to write. I didn't want to share this because I'm scared of the judgment that will come with it. People need to be looking out for young girls and protecting them.
Alongside the graphic photos, Ellie Williams claimed she was being raped, tortured and exploited at the hands of an Asian grooming gang. Pictures of Ellie Williams, her young face and body covered in scars and bruises, were like a grenade thrown into the middle of this town. Barrow was torn in two, divided between the people who believed Ellie had been a victim of an Asian grooming gang and those who felt it was an elaborate racist lie. There were protests on the street, dark conspiracies online, a community profoundly damaged, its scars yet to heal. The day after the pictures were posted, there was an arrest, but it wasn't of any alleged attackers. It was of 19-year-old Ellie herself. Police said she'd broken bail conditions, having previously been arrested for perverting the course of justice. The same day, in a highly unusual move, the police then issued this statement.
What I would say is, when the question is asked, is there an organised gang of Asian men in Barrow conducting abuse or otherwise exploitation against individuals? Our investigation has shown that has not been corroborated with otherwise evidence.
That's a good point. You got to think about that. This is not the only case where we've seen lies being purported against an individual, much less an actual whole ethnic group, which is what she's basically saying. Like, this is well put together, right? This is like she's been thinking about what she was going to say. And this is as bad because you got to think about both sides. Okay, what happens if these guys actually get convicted or if we find a scapegoat? This is very grave. So the punishment for lying or even attempting to take advantage of the public perception of the fact that the woman is, a victim and whatnot, the punishment needs to fit the crime. What she says was very, very, very bad. You need to think of all the repercussions that come along with being falsely accused. She needs to get that tenfold, right? And we're not even through the video, but if she dares to try to come up with such an elaborated story, she needs to get punishment to fit the crime, because this needs to be an example for all the potential lies to be told in the future, right? We need to set an example with her because, bro, come on now. How many times have we seen this now?
If the intention was to reassure the town, to calm its sense of shock, it resolutely and very publicly failed. The far-right activist Tommy Robinson arrives to investigate the claims of Asian gangs grooming young girls.
And then obviously this story by this Ellie girl has blew it up, and the fact that she's been remanded. There's so much to it.
In the months that follow, resentment and anger festers on all sides. Asian businesses are terrorized. A local newspaper reporter is forced to go into hiding. But the questions which have so bitterly divided the town are resolved in the most dramatic way. At court, a raft of damning evidence showing Ellie Williams has made up the whole story. Here she is on CCTV footage, calmly booking herself into a hotel in Blackpool, supposedly at the time she'd been trafficked there. Here she is buying snacks in a local shop. And here, perhaps the most extraordinary piece of evidence. Ellie buys a hammer which the jury are told she uses to inflict horrific injuries on herself. Ellie Williams was convicted of 9 charges of perverting the course of justice and today sentenced to 8.5 years in jail.
There is no explanation for why the defendant would commit these offences. She has gone to extraordinary lengths to create false accusations including causing herself significant injury.
A brief statement from Ellie herself was read out in court. "I'm not saying I'm guilty," she said, "but I know that I have done wrong on some of this, so I'm sorry."
And you have to think about what a wicked individual tries to do this. Like you want to go up front and trying to blame it on a whole group of people. Now in her situation, she doesn't even have a logical reason why. And a lot of times when these type of things happen, these people would rather invent a whole story than to take accountability for whatever event happened that they're trying to escape, right? Because we've seen cheating wives, right, invent a story about being abducted to cover the fact that the reason why they disappeared from their responsibilities is because they were doing some fuck shit, which was, in this situation, she didn't even have an excuse. She wasn't cheating on nobody. She maybe wanted attention and she wanted to inflict harm. And you've seen the domino effects of what happened to the Asian businesses that suffered maybe the loss of clients, maybe harassment from people that actually thought they had something to do, or just because they are Asian themselves, they got that treatment. Think about that.
Outside the court, the question, would that be enough for the men Ellie Williams accused of rape and exploitation?
I feel no sense of triumph, only sadness for the loss of the years, the impact on my family, here we are, and the true impact that this will have on true victims. That's the loss here.
Mr. Ramzan says he's now supporting Jordan Trengove, who spent 10 weeks in jail after Ellie accused him of rape. Both say they tried to take their own lives because of the stress. If you were able to say anything to Ellie Williams today, what would you say?
Why? I want to know why you have done this to us. And I'd love to know why, because she's not only done it to me and Mo, she's done it to our families, and there's innocent children and kids involved in our families along with that. And she's destroyed their lives as long with ours.
The impact on the town as a whole has been almost as devastating. Police say the protests were the biggest in decades. Scores of hate crimes have been reported. Simon Fell, the local Conservative MP, says even though Ellie is clearly a damaged young woman, it's right that she should pay for the damage she has done.
If no one does that to themselves if they're well, if they're in a good state of mind, if they're in a happy setup around them, then they just simply don't do that. So there's something that's gone on there. She is clearly a victim of something.
In terms of the legacy Barrow has been left with after this, how would you describe that?
I think we're going to leave it at that, but you can understand, and I think that anybody that has common sense know that this, if a bad behavior is not reinforced, actually not reinforced, but corrected, right, is not giving the right type of punishment, people will just have in their mind, it's an incentive to keep on doing it. If you keep on burning red lights and nobody gives you a ticket or you don't get pulled over, then you won't mind doing it, right? If you do something bad, it needs to be punished. Now, this is what she's got, 8.5. To me, it should have been worse. But that's good enough, at least for a start, because people need to understand that just coming out and saying somebody did something they didn't do and taking the risk to affect their livelihood, affect the public perception of their family, perhaps destroy their whole reputation and their career just because of your own selfish needs or desire to avoid responsibility, then you should be faced with the full extent of the justice system's wrath. I say good. If you like the content, subscribe, share, like the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.